Mawarid Finance. فالك طيب.
Good morning, everyone, and I take a lot of pride and pleasure in, of course, what was mentioned about the DIFC. You know, there's absolute truth to that. I mean, if you type Dubai and finance, DIFC comes out on any search platform. Today, the way I want to do it, I'd like to probably do a little bit of a journey mapping of the IFC as well, and then why, and I think probably give you a background of why did we start thinking about fintech and how did we go about it, and what were some of the key learnings throughout the journey, and more importantly, how did we adapt, how did we pivot, and how do we keep reintroducing ourselves as well, and why that is so important. I think everyone in the room knows about the IFC, so not probably spending a lot of time in terms of why the IFC is unique and how it was built. But yeah, it is the financial center of the city of Dubai. We are a government entity that was developed to diversify Dubai's economy, and more importantly, to push the boundaries when it comes to developing the financial services sector for the city of Dubai. It was built in 2004. It has a unique legal and regulatory framework. It's based on English common law. And from 2004 up until 2020, 2015, 2016, DIFC was able to attract the who's who of the financial world. Any top name that comes to your mind, the top US banks, the top European banks, the Indian banks, everyone saw the value that the city of Dubai provides, the infrastructure that the IFC provides. They came and set up. And I think it was around that time we were seeing this disruption in financial services also. And I think around this time also, Dubai, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, he announced in 2014 a national innovation agenda for the city of Dubai. So that kind of made it mandatory on every government entity to push the innovation mandate. And because we are the financial center, so it was our responsibility to kind of look into financial innovation. But at the same time, we were also seeing a lot of market trends. A lot of people were knocking on our door. They were looking at disrupting financial services or providing financial services from a different lens. And that's where we started thinking to ourselves. We said, what can we do? How should we go about it? Because up until that time, the IFC was home to the big names, the big boys. And all of a sudden, we said, now we want to position the IFC as a hub for startups. Because when you talk about fintechs, traditionally it's startups. You know, people trying to do things differently, college graduates thinking that they'll go and change the financial world. How do you cater to this clientele? So we did a lot of analysis, and the first initiative that we came up with was a fintech accelerator. I'm sure everyone has heard about Fintech Hive. So we launched Fintech Hive, which was an accelerator program that helped us learn about fintech, that helped us bring in the financial services, the traditional conventional players onto the table. And from there, I think our journey has been nothing but growth. We realized, you know, very early on that fintechs and need a very different approach. We have to look into regulation, because the existing regulations not necessarily work for these guys. We need to look at ecosystem development in terms of, you know, the offices that they need, the infrastructure that they need. We also had to look at, you know, things like funding, because I remember in 2017, 2018, funding was a huge problem. And we made a case to our management. We said, we can attract hundreds of startups or hundreds of fintechs, but if we don't provide funding to them, they'll fail. So we've achieved nothing. And that's where we ourselves decided that we, as a government entity, although not in our DNA, we're not an investment company, we said just to stimulate the ecosystem, to put a bit more fuel into the ecosystem, we will deploy capital. So we said we will deploy capital ourselves. We'll also attract other capital, so there is more investment into this asset class. One of the most important things that fintechs need is also connection with corporates. How do you make sure the right fintech speaks to the right person in the right bank? That's where we of course, I think our programs that we run played a crucial role. And then of course the DFSA, which is our regulator, has been on this constant journey of innovating and looking at what kind of regulations are required and how do you bring those regulations. I think I still remember when we started with a very teeny tiny office of about 3,000 square feet. That's where we started our journey about 7-8 years ago. Today that ecosystem has, this was actually as of last year, we should be much bigger by next year. We've grown probably 100x. So now the Innovation Hub spans over more than 300,000 square feet. It should, I usually make a mistake. I go on stage, I say things, then they tell me you shouldn't have said that. But we'll grow significantly by next year. But what that tells you is that the infrastructure works, that the sector is growing. If you look at the numbers that we see, this is one of the fastest growing sectors. And I think what is even more important, if you look at Dubai's ranking in the global index of fintech hubs, it's been growing year on year. Last year we were ranked number 5. We just got our ranking about a month ago. Dubai was ranked 4th globally as a fintech hub. And this, of course, is because of everything that you guys have done, everything that the UAE government is doing, what we've been doing at the DIFC. So we're, of course, doing a lot when it comes to fintech and financial services. But things don't stop there, and I keep telling my boss, I keep telling him that, in this space, we have to relook at our strategy every 6 months. Because every 6 months, there's something new. So we started with an accelerator program, we brought in a fund, we looked at the regulations, we built whatever nice buildings, and we attracted startups. But what's next? We continuously look at emerging themes. We've looked at, how fintech, there's a huge fintech element, fintech and sustainability element. There's a huge fintech, and Web3, of course, is an emerging topic, has been an emerging topic. Metaverse was, of course, there was a time we had to look at metaverse and the implication of space. Now, we have a colleague with us who's an enthusiast in space. He talks about payments in space. So you have to look at all emerging sectors, emerging technologies, and how fintech will sit at the core of it, at the core of everything that happens. So how do we make sure we have the right infrastructure, the right ecosystem to enable that? And I usually get asked, what are the type of companies that we focus on, that we want to attract? And I tell them, I want to focus on the student who's in his or her fourth year, thinking about a new venture, all the way to Google. Because they're all looking at disrupting the financial services sector. When it comes to fintech, we look at startups that want to disrupt. We look at telcos that are disrupting and want to disrupt. Some of the largest players are platform plays. Some of the largest fintechs and financial came out of Alibaba. Telcos are doing financial services, be it Salat, be it STC, all these guys are providing financial services. So I think from our perspective, it's very important to look at how can we enable them, how can we attract them and plug them into the ecosystem. And also, I think one thing that we take very seriously is how do we ensure that the existing financial services, so Emirates MBD, Mashreq, Julius Baer, how would they look like 20 years from now? how fintech is evolving, everything, but it's also our responsibility to make sure that these guys are also evolving. That's where we do a lot of work with the corporates. We do a lot of matchmaking, we do a lot of advocacy as well. We sit with their leadership and we try and tell them about the importance of innovation. Either it's from a CVC perspective, either it's from a venture building perspective. We constantly keep pushing them to kind of take up on these tasks. Some of the names that we've been working at Innovation Hub. I think, I think everyone knows about the Dubai Fintech Summit. I think initiatives like these are extremely important to help elevate Dubai's position as a fintech hub. But more importantly, I think, you know, bringing everyone, when we thought about the Dubai Fintech Summit, our thinking was, how do we bring everyone under one platform? Because there's three key players in this ecosystem. You've got the fintechs, you've got the banks, and you've got the regulators. How do you bring them all under one roof? So that's one of the things that we've done. For some people, you must have seen the shift. We started, of course, as a hub that was fully focused on financial technology, and there came a time when we realized that the lines are blurring. We never know who else is going to provide financial services. And that's where we said we need to look at innovation overall, not just fintech. And with that journey, we've constantly been looking at other sectors and the importance of that sector or that technology on financial services. When, of course, AI became AI in late 22, early 23, we decided that within the DIFC Innovation Hub, we want to build an AI campus that focuses on bringing the most interesting, exciting native AI companies. So again, building a cluster like we did for fintech, we want to build a cluster for AI as well. One, of course, we want to plug AI into traditional financial services. But I think over here we pushed the boundary a little bit more. We said we want to look at financial services plus everything else. But I think when you look at AI, it's very important you have the right partners. I think we were very clear that when we made the case of the AI campus, we said we are not we're not a technology company. I'm not going to build solutions. What we're good at is building a home for these guys. And in building that ecosystem, we wanted to make sure we've got the right partners with us who can help us build this ecosystem. Education, upskilling, I think is extremely important. One thing we've realized over the past year and a half, be it finance, be it AI, be it government, I think it's probably, I cannot think of a more pressing issue when it comes to people learning about AI. Everyone, each one of us has to be educated about AI. If every CEO that I speak to of any entity, they're thinking about what they can do in AI, and nobody has a clue. And I think that's where we realized, you know, we have to do something in terms of upskilling the existing workforce. We also did a very interesting hypothesis for the government. We said, you know, there are so many AI tools out there, but we're not necessarily using them in the right way, or not necessarily know how to use them. Everyone knows how to use ChatGPT, but there's so many other tools also. So we did this analysis, which I think the idea was, if we take a percentage of the workforce and we train them on the basic tools, we're not making anyone a software engineer overnight. But if we can just train them on the basic tools that exist, their productivity can jump up to 40%. The tools that are already existing, if you just learn how to use them, your productivity can jump by 40%. And imagine the impact that will have for government efficiency and GDP contribution. So when I think we did that analysis, it was very clear that we have to take up on this mandate as well and then try and upskill existing workforce. I'll skip a little bit, but I think probably come to Ignite, which is something that we've been contemplating on for some time. We've just signed a partnership with Mawarid as well. The idea with Ignite is, when we built the first ecosystem, or when we built the IFC Innovation Hub, by the way, today has more than 1,500 startups. More than 6,000 people work in the ecosystem. I still remember the day when we had 30 startups. I knew the name of every founder. I knew every VC, every corporate. Now we register more than 30 startups a month just in the IFC. I don't know that. I can't know that. It's not possible. 1,500 startups, it's a nightmare. And I remember we were able to help them when it's, we all sit in the same place. They come to me, Mohammad, I want to connect with this guy, that guy. We were able to. My team knew them all. Now it's not possible. So I think the challenge that was posed to us, how are we able to support startups as we scale? And the answer was, you can only do it through technology. So we started building this platform. We said we'll build a platform that does everything that we've been doing physically. So physically, currently in the Innovation Hub, we give startups access to investors, mentors. We connect them with corporates, with government. We run programs. There's, of course, specific perks we provide. We said, how can we do this leveraging technology? We started building it. And I think we got to a point where we realized, if we're really trying to scale, then we should not just limit it to the IFC. Ignite, if we're really building a technology, if we really want to use technology and we want to scale and help support startups and entrepreneurs, we should be ambitious. And that's where we took the initiative to His Highness. We said, we built this platform. We believe it can support startups for all of Dubai. And it was announced so the project sort of graduated from just being at the IFC level initiative to all of Dubai level initiative under the Dubai Digital Economy Mandate, where we aim to accelerate 100,000 startups and entrepreneurs. Through the platform, we want to give them access to mentors, access to investors. Today there's so I'll tell you, we've been giving people startups access to investors for the last 7 years. I used to do it on an Excel sheet. 30 investors, every day I get a pitch. Sometimes I have time to send it, sometimes I don't. It's all manual. So we said, how do we do this digitally? With everything that's happening, how do you do it digitally so it's seamless and it doesn't need me to do a connection? So we build the platform. Through the platform, today you'll have, we aim to have 5,000 investors. Today you'll have access to more than 300 investors, almost 500 mentors. I know there is some of our mentors are in the room as well. They've been mentors of Innovation Hub for some time. But it used to be on Excel sheets. Now it's all digital. One last, initiative. I don't want to be too long. Property technology is also very interesting. Last year there was the Dubai real estate strategy was announced, which had a huge focus on bringing innovation into real estate. Real estate, if you look at it, is one of the largest sectors for the city of Dubai. It's all real estate outside. But is it very innovative if you were to compare it with banking? But then a lot of the real estate assets could also be financial assets. There's a huge financial component to it. I think the first real estate crowdfunding platform came out of the DIFC, be it Smart Crowd and then be it Stake. So I think this is again where we worked with the Dubai Land Department. We said there has to be a platform which champions property technology innovation, and not just from the development side, but the entire value chain, from evaluation of the land to construction, to development, to management. So we're actually looking at facilities management as well. And I think there will be a lot of interesting use cases that will come out of the PropTech Hub, and which are heavily, which are PropTech/FinTech as well, because each and every developer we speak to is looking at tokenization. Now, is it PropTech? Is it FinTech? So going back to my point, you know, the lines are being blurred. So you have to adapt, you have to be agile, and you have to look at what's next. So that's sort of, I think, a few things that I wanted to cover. But I think what's very important, the message that I want to leave everyone with over here, you have to constantly look at what's coming up next. You have to be agile. You have to look at pivoting. I think one thing that I've learned is whatever worked in the past, it's not necessary to work in the future, no matter how hard it is. I remember the battles that we've fought just to try and convince people that this is not how it's going to work. So to all the innovators over here, if it's tough, you keep going. You keep at it. Thank you very much.